In the small town of Willow Creek, life moved at a slow pace. The streets were lined with old trees, and the sound of birds chirping filled the air every morning. It was a quiet place where everyone knew each other, or so it seemed. But beneath the surface, things weren't always as peaceful as they appeared. 12-year-old Maya had recently moved to Willow Creek with her family. They'd relocated from another state because her dad got a new job in the city nearby. For Maya, starting fresh wasn't easy. She was shy by nature, often keeping to herself during school hours. At first, she struggled to fit in. The kids at her new middle school already had their own groups of friends, and breaking into those circles felt impossible for someone like her. But there was one thing that made Maya feel hopeful about her new life: the community pool. Her mom had signed her up for swimming lessons, hoping it would help her overcome a fear she'd carried for years. When she was younger, Maya had nearly drowned during a family vacation. Since then, water terrified her. Every time she even thought about stepping into a pool, her heart raced and her palms got sweaty. But deep down, she wanted to face her fears. So, when her mom suggested the swimming classes, Maya agreed. On this particular afternoon, Maya stood nervously by the edge of the pool, clutching her towel tightly around herself. She wore a simple one-piece swimsuit, nothing fancy, just something plain and comfortable. Her instructor, Ms. Clara, greeted her warmly. "Ready to give it a try today?" she asked with an encouraging smile. Maya nodded, though her stomach churned with anxiety. Around her, other kids chattered excitedly, splashing water and laughing. Some were beginners like her, while others looked more confident, diving fearlessly into the deeper end. Maya watched them, feeling both inspired and intimidated. As the lesson began, Ms. Clara guided the group through warm-up exercises. "Let's start with floating," she said, demonstrating how to lie back in the water. "Trust me, once you get the hang of it, it'll feel natural." Maya hesitated, but eventually stepped closer to the water. The cool touch of the pool sent shivers down her spine, but she reminded herself why she was here: to conquer her fear. Slowly, she dipped her toes in, then her legs, until finally she was waist-deep. With Ms. Clara's patient guidance, she practiced floating and kicking in the shallow end. Though she was far from perfect, she managed to stay focused, surprising herself with how much progress she made in such a short time. When it came time for a short break, Maya climbed out of the pool, feeling a tiny spark of pride for pushing past her fear. Wrapping her towel around her shoulders, she sat on the bench near the lockers to catch her breath. For the first time since moving to Willow Creek, she felt a sense of accomplishment. Maybe, just maybe, she could do this. But little did she know, trouble was brewing nearby. Lurking close by were 3 older girls who attended the same school. These girls were infamous for their cruel behavior. They thrived on making others feel small and insignificant. Their favorite targets? Kids like Maya, young, quiet, and different. The trio exchanged smirks as they watched Maya sit alone clutching her towel. One of them, the leader of the group, whispered something to the others, and they all burst into giggles. Without hesitation, they started walking toward Maya, pretending to be friendly at first. Maya glanced up, sensing something was off, but before she could react, everything changed in an instant. Suddenly, the leader snatched the towel right off Maya's body, leaving her exposed in her wet swimsuit. The laughter echoed around the pool area as one of the girls whipped out her phone to record the moment. "Look at this," the leader sneered, holding the towel high above Maya's reach. "What kind of loser wears something so plain? Did your mom pick that out?" Maya froze, her cheeks burning with shame. Tears welled up in her eyes as she tried to grab the towel back, but the girl pushed her down onto the wet tiles. Other swimmers turned to look. Some laughed nervously, others looked away, uncomfortable but unwilling to step in. The humiliation cut deeper than anything Maya had ever experienced. Miss Clara quickly intervened, scolding the girls and ordering them to leave the area immediately. But the damage was done. As Maya wrapped herself in her towel again, trembling with embarrassment, a quiet resolve began to form deep within her. She didn't know how yet, but she vowed not to let them get away with what they'd done. Little did those bullies know. Their actions had awakened something inside Maya, a determination to stand up for herself and take back her power. The rest of the swimming lesson passed in a blur for Maya. She tried to focus on what Ms. Clara was saying, but her mind kept replaying the humiliating scene over and over again. The laughter, the sneers, the feeling of being pushed down onto the cold, wet tiles. It all felt like a heavy weight pressing against her chest. Every time someone glanced in her direction, she wondered if they were still thinking about what had happened. Were they laughing at her? Whispering behind her back? The thought made her want to disappear. When the class finally ended, Maya hurried to the locker room, avoiding eye contact with everyone. Her hands shook as she changed out of her swimsuit and into her clothes. She wanted nothing more than to go home, crawl under the covers, and forget the entire day. But even as she packed her bag, a small voice inside her refused to let her give up. That voice reminded her of how hard she'd worked to face her fear of water. It told her that she deserved better than to be treated like this. And most importantly, it whispered that she wasn't alone. At home, Maya's mom noticed something was wrong the moment she walked through the door. "How was your lesson today?" she asked, setting aside the book she'd been reading. Maya hesitated, unsure whether to tell the truth or brush it off. But one look at her mom's kind face broke the dam holding back her emotions. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she recounted everything. The bullying, the towel being ripped away, the cruel comments, and the way no one stepped in to help. Her mom listened quietly, her expression shifting from concern to anger. "That's unacceptable," her mom said firmly once Maya finished speaking. "No one should treat you or anyone else that way. You did the right thing by telling me." Mom hugged her tightly, letting her cry until the tears slowed. Then she gently encouraged Maya to talk to her older sister, Naya, who might have some advice. Naya was 4 years older than Maya and had always been protective of her. Growing up, she'd faced her own share of challenges and had learned how to stand up for herself along the way. If anyone could offer guidance, it was her. Later that evening, Maya sat on the couch next to Nia, nervously twisting the hem of her shirt. She explained what had happened at the pool, her voice trembling as she described the humiliation she'd endured. Nia listened intently, her jaw tightening with each detail. When Maya finished, tears streaming down her cheeks, Nia placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "They think they can treat people however they want because no one stands up to them," Nia said, her tone firm but reassuring. "But guess what? We're going to change that." Nia went on to explain that she knew exactly who those girls were. They were notorious troublemakers at her high school. They often picked on younger students thinking they could get away with it because no one dared to challenge them. But Nia had dealt with bullies before, and she wasn't about to let them hurt her little sister without consequences. Together, Maya and Nia came up with a plan. Nia would confront the bullies directly, using her sharp wit and commanding presence to put them in their place. Meanwhile, Maya would focus on building her confidence so she wouldn't feel powerless if they crossed paths again. Over the next few days, Nia coached Maya on standing tall, speaking assertively, and even practicing self-defense moves. Maya started carrying herself differently, surprising even her teachers with her newfound boldness. But Nia didn't stop there. She also reached out to some of her friends from the debate team, sharing Maya's story and asking for their support. Word spread quickly among the students at both the middle school and high school. By the time the weekend rolled around, nearly everyone knew about the incident at the pool, and many were outraged on Maya's behalf. On Monday morning, Maya returned to school feeling a mix of nerves and determination. As she walked through the hallways, she noticed whispers and glances directed her way. At first, she assumed the worst, that people were talking about her behind her back. But then something unexpected happened. A girl from her math class approached her during lunch. "I heard what happened at the pool," the girl said softly. "That was really brave of you to keep going after that. I'm sorry no one stood up for you." Maya blinked, surprised by the apology. "Thanks," she replied, unsure what else to say. Throughout the day, other students echoed similar sentiments. Some apologized for not intervening sooner. Others promised to speak up if they ever saw bullying happen again. For the first time, since moving to Willow Creek, Maya felt like she belonged, not because she was trying to fit in, but because people genuinely cared about her well-being. Meanwhile, Naya was busy putting the second part of their plan into action. After school, she tracked down the three bullies near the cafeteria. They were sitting at a table, laughing loudly and showing off their phones. Nia marched straight up to them, her presence commanding attention. "Hey," she said sharply, cutting through their conversation. "We need to talk." The girls looked up, startled by her sudden appearance. One of them smirked, clearly unimpressed. "What do you want?" Nia leaned in closer, lowering her voice so only they could hear. "You know exactly what I'm talking about. What you did to my sister at the pool, that's not okay. If I catch you messing with her or anyone else, you'll regret it. Got it?" The bullies exchanged uneasy glances, their bravado faltering under Nia's intense gaze. Without waiting for a response, Nia turned and walked away, leaving them speechless. Back at home, Maya thanked Nia for stepping in, though she still worried about facing the bullies again. "What if they don't listen?" she asked, her voice tinged with doubt. "They will," Nia assured her. "And if they don't, we'll figure something else out. But remember this. You're stronger than you think. Don't let anyone make you believe otherwise." Over the next few weeks, Maya continued attending her swimming lessons. Each time she stepped into the pool, she reminded herself of the progress she'd made, not just in the water, but in standing up for herself. Her confidence grew with every stroke, and soon she found herself enjoying the classes more than ever. Even when the bullies showed up at the pool again, Maya didn't shrink away. Instead, she held her head high, refusing to let their presence intimidate her. Slowly but surely, the dynamics began to shift. The bullies, realizing they couldn't push Maya around anymore, started keeping their distance. Their attempts to provoke her fell flat, and eventually, they stopped coming to the pool altogether. Maya knew she hadn't won just because they left. She'd won because she'd taken control of her own story. By the end of the semester, Maya had transformed in ways she never imagined. She wasn't just learning to swim, she was learning to navigate life with resilience and courage. And though the scars of that day at the pool would always remain, they served as a reminder of how far she'd come, and how much further she could go. 2 weeks had passed since the incident at the pool, and Maya was starting to feel like a different person. She wasn't the same girl who cowered under her towel or avoided eye contact in the hallways. Something inside her had shifted, a quiet strength that grew with every decision she made to stand tall. Her sister Nia's words echoed in her mind daily. "You're stronger than you think." And slowly, Maya began to believe them. On this particular afternoon, Maya returned to the pool for another lesson. This time, however, things felt different. For starters, she'd chosen a bright yellow swimsuit instead of her usual plain one. It was Nia's idea. She'd insisted that wearing something bold would help Maya feel more confident. "Wear it, like armor," Nia had said with a grin. "Let people see you're not afraid to shine." Maya hesitated at first, worried about drawing attention to herself, but as she stood by the edge of the pool in her new swimsuit, she realized how much better she felt. The color seemed to radiate off her skin, matching the fire building inside her. Ms. Clara noticed too. "Wow, don't you look ready to conquer the world today?" she said with a warm smile. Maya blushed but couldn't help smiling back. Maybe she didn't have the world figured out yet, but she was definitely ready to take on the pool, and anyone who tried to bring her down. As the lesson began, Maya focused intently on Ms. Clara's instructions. Today, they were practicing freestyle strokes, a skill Maya had struggled with before. But now something clicked. With each stroke she felt lighter, faster, more in control. The water no longer felt like an enemy. It felt like a partner carrying her forward. When Ms. Clara praised her progress, Maya beamed with pride. For the first time, she truly believed she could master swimming. But just as Maya started to relax, into the rhythm of the class she spotted them, the three bullies. They were lounging by the bleachers, their smirks unmistakable. One of them whispered something to the others, and they all turned to look directly at Maya. A wave of unease washed over her, but she forced herself to breathe deeply. She remembered what Nia had taught her. Don't let them see your fear. For a moment, the bullies seemed unsure of what to do. Their usual tricks, mocking glances, snide comments, didn't seem to work anymore. Maya wasn't shrinking away or looking down. Instead, she stared right back at them, her chin lifted defiantly. The leader of the group narrowed her eyes, clearly thrown off by this sudden change in Maya's demeanor. Before anything else could happen, Naya appeared. She strode into the pool area with purpose, her presence commanding immediate attention. Everyone knew Nia. She was the kind of person who lit up a room just by walking into it. Confident, outspoken, and sharp-witted, she had a reputation for standing up for what was right. And today she had a mission. Nia approached the bullies without hesitation, stopping just a few feet away from their bench. "Hey, Amelia," she called out loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Remember me? I'm Maya's big sister. You might recognize my name. I debated against you last month and wiped the floor with your arguments." The girl, Amelia, visibly flinched. True to Nia's words, she'd suffered a humiliating defeat during a recent debate competition. Now, surrounded by curious onlookers, she struggled to maintain her composure. Her friends exchanged nervous glances, shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Nia didn't give them a chance to recover. "I hear you've been harassing my little sister," she continued, her voice steady and firm. "Let me make something clear. If I catch you messing with her or anyone else at this pool, I'll make sure the whole school knows exactly what cowards you are." "Got it?" The bullies stammered apologies, backing away quickly. They muttered something about leaving and grabbed their bags, practically running out of the pool area. As they disappeared, a ripple of applause broke out among the other swimmers. Some kids cheered openly while others nodded approvingly. Even Ms. Clara gave Nia a thumbs up from across the pool. Maya watched the entire scene unfold, her heart pounding with a mix of relief and admiration. She'd always known Nia was protective, but seeing her in action was something else entirely. Nia wasn't just defending Maya. She was sending a message to everyone. Bullying wouldn't be tolerated here. Afterward, Nia came over to check on Maya. "You okay?" she asked, her tone softer now that the confrontation was over. Maya nodded, still processing everything. "Yeah, thank you. I don't know what I'd do without you." Nia smiled, ruffling her hair affectionately. "You'd figure it out. You're tougher than you give yourself credit for." As the lesson resumed, Maya found herself smiling despite everything. The bully's absence created a noticeable shift in the atmosphere. Other kids seemed more relaxed, laughing and chatting freely. Some even approached Maya afterward, complimenting her swimming skills or simply thanking her for being brave. It was strange but wonderful to realize that her story had inspired others to speak up too. Over the next few days, word spread fast about what had happened at the pool. Students whispered about the swim incident in the hallways, and soon, Amelia and her friends found themselves ostracized by their peers. Even their closest allies distanced themselves, unwilling to be associated with such mean-spirited behavior. The trio tried to deny everything, claiming they were innocent victims of gossip. But their excuses fell flat when video evidence surfaced online. It turned out that Nia had cleverly retrieved the footage Rachel had filmed during the original attack. She shared it discreetly with a few trusted classmates who then posted it on social media. Within hours, the video went viral, not just within the school, but across the community. Parents, teachers, and local leaders weighed in, condemning the bullying and praising Maya for her courage. The backlash hit the bullies hard, forcing them to face the consequences of their actions. Meanwhile, Maya continued attending her swimming lessons, no longer afraid of the water or the bullies. With each stroke she took, she felt stronger and more capable. Her classmates noticed her transformation and began treating her with newfound respect. Some even apologized for not stepping in when the bullying occurred, vowing to do better in the future. One day after practice, Maya approached Ms. Clara. "Thank you for helping me that day," she said softly. "I don't think I could have gotten through it without you." Miss Clara smiled warmly. "You did most of the work yourself, Maya. Facing your fears takes real bravery. Don't forget that." Maya nodded, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't experienced in a long time. She knew life wouldn't always be easy. There would still be challenges ahead. But for the first time, she felt equipped to handle them. She had learned to swim not just in the pool, but through the rough waters of adversity. And with her head held high, she was ready to dive into whatever came next. Word of the confrontation at the pool spread like wildfire through Willow Creek Middle School. By Monday morning, it seemed like everyone had heard about what happened. The story was everywhere, in the hallways, during lunch breaks, and even in whispered conversations between teachers in the faculty lounge. Some kids recounted the details with wide eyes while others nodded knowingly, as if they'd suspected all along that the bullies would get their comeuppance someday. For Maya, walking into school that day felt surreal. She expected stares, maybe even judgmental whispers. What she didn't expect was the overwhelming support she received from her classmates. As she made her way to her locker, a boy from her science class stopped her. "Hey," he said, scratching the back of his neck, awkwardly. "I just wanted to say you handled everything really well. That took guts." Maya blinked, surprised by the compliment. Thanks," she replied, unsure how else to respond. It wasn't just him. Throughout the day, people approached her, some offering kind words, others apologizing for not speaking up sooner. One girl from her art class handed her a note that read, "You're inspiring. Don't let anyone bring you down." Another student promised to stand up next time they saw bullying happen. Even teachers chimed in, praising her courage and encouraging her to keep pushing forward. At first, Maya wasn't sure how to process all the attention. She'd spent so long feeling invisible, like she didn't matter. Now, suddenly, everyone seemed to care. It was strange, but also deeply comforting. For the first time since moving to Willow Creek, she felt like she truly belonged. Not because she was trying to fit in, but because people genuinely respected her. Meanwhile, the bullies were having a very different experience. Amelia, Chloe, and Rachel found themselves isolated, their reputations tarnished beyond repair. Kids who once laughed at their jokes now avoided them in the hallways. Friends who used to hang out with them distanced themselves, unwilling to be associated with such cruel behavior. Rumors swirled about how they'd been humiliated not once but twice, first by Nia at the pool and then by the viral video exposing their actions. The trio tried to fight back, posting angry rants on social media and accusing everyone else of exaggerating the situation. But their defenses fell flat. The video footage spoke for itself, showing exactly what had happened that day. The towel being ripped away, the mocking laughter, the tears streaming down Maya's face. Parents saw it, teachers saw it. Even local news outlets picked up the story, sparking discussions about bullying and accountability. As the days turned into weeks, the pressure mounted. The school administration called Amelia, Chloe, and Rachel into meetings with their parents. They faced suspension and mandatory counseling sessions. Their parents, embarrassed and frustrated, grounded them indefinitely. It was clear that their lives had changed forever, and not in a good way. Back at home, Maya's confidence continued to grow. With Nia's encouragement, she started practicing self-defense moves in the backyard after school. At first, it felt silly throwing punches into the air or dodging imaginary attackers. But as she got better, she realized how empowering it was to know she could protect herself if she ever needed to. Nia often joined her, turning the practice sessions into bonding moments filled with laughter and shared determination. "You're unstoppable," Nia told her one evening as they stretched under the fading sunlight. "Remember that. No matter what happens, you've got this." Maya smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. She knew she still had a lot to learn, not just about swimming or defending herself, but about navigating life in general. But for the first time, she felt ready to take on whatever challenges came her way. At the pool, Maya thrived. Her newfound confidence translated directly into her performance in the water. She no longer hesitated before diving in or second-guessed her abilities. Instead, she embraced each lesson with enthusiasm, surprising even Ms. Clara with her rapid improvement. "You're a natural," her instructor said one afternoon after Maya completed a perfect lap of freestyle swimming. "Keep going like this and you'll be leading the team in no time." Maya blushed at the praise but couldn't help grinning. Swimming had become more than just a hobby. It was a symbol of her resilience. Every stroke reminded her of how far she'd come, from the scared girl clinging to her towel to the confident swimmer slicing through the water with ease. Her classmates noticed the change, too. During breaks, other kids began asking her for tips on improving their technique. Some even cheered her on during races, shouting her name from the sidelines. Maya never imagined she'd become someone others looked up to, but she embraced the role, offering advice and encouragement whenever she could. One day, after a particularly grueling practice session, Maya sat by the edge of the pool, catching her breath. A younger girl, probably around 9 or 10 years old, approached her shyly. "Excuse me," the girl said, clutching her own towel tightly. "Are you Maya?" Maya nodded, curious. "Yeah, that's me. Why?" The girl hesitated before speaking again. "I heard what happened to you, with those mean girls. I just wanted to say thank you. My mom showed me the video, and it made me feel braver. I'm scared of the water, too, but watching you makes me think I can do it." Maya's heart swelled with emotion. She hadn't realized her story had reached so many people, or that it could inspire someone else to face their fears. Smiling softly, she patted the spot beside her. "Come sit," she said. "Tell me about it." As the girl talked, Maya listened intently, sharing her own experiences and offering reassurance. By the end of their conversation, the younger girl looked less nervous and more determined. "Maybe I'll try swimming lessons next week," she said, standing up with newfound resolve. Watching her walk away, Maya felt a sense of fulfillment she'd never experienced before. Helping someone else gave her a deeper understanding of her own journey. She realized that bravery wasn't just about overcoming personal challenges. It was also about lifting others up along the way. By the end of the semester, Maya had transformed in ways she never imagined possible. She wasn't just learning to swim. She was learning to navigate life with resilience and grace. The scars of that day at the pool would always remain, but they served as reminders of her strength, not her weakness. And though she knew there would still be tough days ahead, she faced them with the same determination she brought to the water every afternoon. As she stood on the podium at the annual swim meet, accepting second place in the freestyle race, Maya glanced toward the stands. There, cheering louder than anyone else, was Nia. Tears filled Maya's eyes, not of sadness, but of pride. She'd come full circle, proving to herself and everyone around her that courage wasn't the absence of fear, it was finding the strength to rise above it. The annual swim meet was the highlight of the season, and Maya had been looking forward to it for weeks. It wasn't just about competing, it was about showing herself, her family, and everyone else what she was capable of. For months, she'd poured her heart into every practice session, pushing herself harder than ever before. She wanted to prove that she wasn't just a girl who overcame fear, she was a swimmer who could hold her own against the best. On the day of the meet, the community pool buzzed with excitement. Parents lined the bleachers, cameras in hand, while younger siblings ran around laughing. The air smelled of chlorine mixed with sunscreen, and the sound of splashing water echoed off the walls. Maya stood near the starting blocks, adjusting, her goggles nervously. Her yellow swimsuit, the one Nia had encouraged her to wear, made her feel bold and ready, but her stomach still churned with anticipation. "Relax," Ms. Clara said, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You've worked so hard for this. Trust yourself." Maya nodded, taking a deep breath. She glanced toward the stands where her mom and Nia sat side by side. Nia gave her a thumbs up, grinning from ear to ear. That small gesture filled Maya with warmth and confidence. She reminded herself why she was here, Not just to race, but to celebrate how far she'd come since that humiliating day when bullies tried to tear her down. When her event was called, Maya stepped up to the starting block. The whistle blew, and she dove into the water, slicing through it like a knife. Her arms moved in smooth, powerful strokes, her legs kicking rhythmically. Every movement felt natural, almost effortless, as if the water had become an extension of her body. The cheers of the crowd faded into the background, replaced by the steady rush of liquid flowing past her ears. By the time she reached the finish line, Maya felt exhilarated. She didn't care about the results, just knowing she'd given it. Her all was enough. But when the announcer called out her name as the runner-up in the freestyle race, she couldn't believe it. Second place might not have been first, but it felt like a victory nonetheless, a testament to her hard work and determination. As she climbed onto the podium to accept her medal, Maya scanned the crowd again. This time, her eyes locked with those of a familiar face. The young girl she'd spoken to weeks earlier. The same one who'd admitted being scared of the water, but found inspiration in Maya's story. Now the girl sat proudly in the stands, clapping enthusiastically alongside her mom. Maya smiled, feeling a surge of gratitude. Her journey hadn't just changed her life, it had touched others too. After the awards ceremony, Maya joined her family outside the pool area. Nia pulled her into a tight hug, lifting her off the ground. "I'm so proud of you," she exclaimed, spinning her around. "Did you see how fast you were? You crushed it." Maya laughed, her cheeks flushed from both the race and the attention. "Thanks, sis, I couldn't have done it without you." Her mom chimed in, wrapping her arms around both girls. "We're all so proud of you, Maya. You've shown incredible strength, not just today, but every single day since we moved here." The praise felt overwhelming, but also deeply meaningful. Maya realized that her transformation wasn't just about swimming or standing up to bullies. It was about becoming someone who inspired others to believe in themselves. And that realization stayed with her long after the swim meet ended. Over the next few months, Maya continued to thrive. At school, she became known as the girl who faced her fears head-on. Teachers often pointed to her as an example of resilience, encouraging other students to follow her lead. Kids who once ignored her now sought her advice, whether it was about swimming techniques or dealing with tough situations. Even parents approached her mom at events, thanking her for raising such a remarkable daughter. But Maya didn't let the recognition go to her head. Instead, she used her platform to uplift others. During lunch breaks, she started sitting with quieter kids who reminded her of herself when she first arrived in Willow Creek. She shared stories about her struggles with fear and bullying, hoping to show them they weren't alone. Sometimes she invited classmates to join her at the pool for casual practice sessions, teaching them basic strokes and cheering them on as they improved. One afternoon, while helping a shy boy learn to float, Maya noticed Amelia walking by. The former bully kept her head down, avoiding eye contact. Gone was the arrogance and cruelty Maya remembered. Instead, there was a sadness in her expression that made Maya pause. She didn't feel anger or resentment, only pity. Whatever consequences Amelia faced seemed to have humbled her, though Maya doubted she'd ever fully understand what that felt like. Later that week, Maya decided to write a letter. Sitting at her desk with a pen and paper, she carefully crafted her thoughts. She wrote about the pain of being bullied, the humiliation she endured, and the strength it took to rise above it. But she also included words of forgiveness, not because she thought Amelia deserved it, but because holding on to bitterness would only weigh her down. She slipped the letter into Amelia's locker anonymously, unsure if it would make any difference. Days passed without a response, and Maya almost forgot about it. Then one morning she found a note tucked inside her backpack. It read simply, "Thank you for understanding. I'm sorry." Maya stared at the words for a long time, processing their meaning. Forgiveness was never easy, but it brought a kind of peace she hadn't expected. Letting go of anger freed her to focus on the positives, her family, her friends, and the countless opportunities ahead. As the school year drew to a close, Maya reflected on everything she'd learned. Facing her fear of water taught her to trust herself. Standing up to bullies showed her the power of resilience. Inspiring others reminded her that even the smallest acts of kindness could create ripples of change, and forgiving those who hurt her allowed her to move forward with a lighter heart. On graduation day, Maya stood on stage as valedictorian, delivering a speech that left the entire audience in tears. "Life throws challenges our way," she began, her voice steady despite the nerves bubbling inside her. "Sometimes we feel powerless. But remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's finding the strength to rise above it. And sometimes, all it takes is one person standing beside you to remind you of your worth." The applause that followed was deafening, but Maya barely heard it. As she stepped off the stage, she knew she'd come full circle, from the girl hiding behind her towel to the young woman inspiring others. She'd proven that resilience could turn even the darkest moments into triumphs, and she couldn't wait to see what the future held. Years passed, and Maya grew into a young woman who carried her experiences like badges of honor. The lessons she learned at 12 stayed with her, shaping the person she became. She wasn't perfect, no one was, but she faced life's challenges with a quiet strength that inspired those around her. Her journey from the scared girl at the pool to the confident swimmer and leader had left an indelible mark on Willow Creek, and its ripples continued to spread far beyond. After graduating high school as valedictorian, Maya decided to pursue a degree in education. It wasn't just about landing a good job or making her parents proud, it was about giving back. She wanted to be the kind of teacher who truly understood what kids went through, someone they could trust when things got tough. Swimming remained a big part of her life too. In college, she joined the swim team, not because she needed another trophy, but because being in the water still brought her joy and peace. During summer breaks, Maya returned to Willow Creek to volunteer at the community pool, where it all began. She taught swimming lessons to kids of all ages, many of whom reminded her of herself, shy, unsure, and hesitant to take the first step. Some were afraid of the water, while others struggled with confidence outside the pool. Maya approached each child with patience and kindness, sharing stories of how she overcame her own fears. One summer, a little boy named Alex stood out to her. He was 8 years old, with messy brown hair and a gap-toothed smile. On his first day of lessons, he refused to even dip his toes in the water. "I'll sink," he whispered, clutching the edge of the pool so tightly his knuckles turned white. Maya crouched beside him, meeting his wide eyes with a gentle smile. "You know, I used to think the same thing," she said softly. "But guess what? Now I can swim faster than most people here, and if I can do it, so can you." Over the next few weeks, Maya worked closely with Alex, encouraging him every step of the way. She celebrated his tiny victories, a splash of courage, a moment of floating, and patiently guided him through setbacks. By the end of the summer, Alex swam across the shallow end without holding on to anything. His mom hugged Maya after the final lesson, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she said. "He talks about you all the time. You've changed him." Moments like these reminded Maya why she chose this path. Teaching wasn't just about helping kids learn skills. It was about showing them their potential and reminding them they mattered. Every smile, every breakthrough felt like proof that her struggles hadn't been for nothing. They'd prepared her to make a difference. Back in college, Maya often shared her story during campus events. Whether it was a leadership workshop or a panel discussion on overcoming adversity, she spoke openly about the bullying incident and how it shaped her. At first, revisiting those memories made her nervous. But as she saw the impact her words had on others, she realized the importance of vulnerability. People connected with her honesty, finding strength in her resilience. One evening, after a particularly emotional talk, a freshman approached her. She was quiet, barely above a whisper, and kept fidgeting with the hem of her sweater. I wanted to say thank you," she stammered. "Your story, it helped me. I've been dealing with some stuff, and hearing you talk made me feel like maybe I'm stronger than I thought." Maya smiled warmly, recognizing the same uncertainty she once carried. "You are," she said firmly, "and don't forget, you're not alone. There's always someone willing to help if you ask." The girl nodded, gratitude shining in her eyes before she walked away. That brief exchange stayed with Maya long after the event ended. It reinforced her belief that everyone has battles. They fight silently, and sometimes all it takes is a kind word or shared experience to remind them they're not alone. Despite her success, Maya never forgot where she came from, or the role forgiveness played in her healing. Years later, she ran into Amelia at a local coffee shop. They hadn't seen each other since high school, and the encounter was awkward at first. Amelia looked different now, older and more subdued. Gone was the arrogance Maya remembered, replaced by a quiet humility. "Hey," Amelia said hesitantly, stepping forward. "Can we talk for a minute?" Maya nodded, curious about what she wanted to say. They sat together at a corner table, sipping their drinks in silence for a moment. Finally, Amelia spoke. "I've thought a lot about what happened back then," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "About how I treated you. I was wrong. Really wrong. I'm sorry." Maya studied her face, searching for sincerity. What she found was genuine regret. "I forgave you a long time ago," she replied softly. "It wasn't easy, but holding on to anger only hurt me more. I hope you found your own way to move forward." Amelia nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "Thanks for saying that, it means a lot." Their conversation didn't erase the past, but it closed a chapter Maya hadn't realized was still open. Forgiveness wasn't about forgetting. It was about releasing the weight of pain and choosing to let go. Walking away from the coffee shop that day, Maya felt lighter, freer. As the years rolled on, Maya's influence reached further than she ever imagined. She became a beloved figure in her community, not just as a teacher or mentor, but as someone who embodied resilience and compassion. Her story was featured in local newspapers and even inspired a short documentary shown at schools across the region. Teachers used it to spark discussions about bullying, bravery, and the power of standing up for oneself. Through it all, Maya remained humble. She didn't see herself as extraordinary, just someone who chose to rise above difficult circumstances. To her, courage wasn't about grand gestures or dramatic moments. It was about small, consistent acts of strength. Facing fears, standing up for others, forgiving those who hurt you. It all added up to a life lived with purpose. On her 30th birthday, Maya stood by the edge of the same pool where her journey began. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting golden ripples across the water. Beside her stood Nia, now a successful lawyer, and their mom, whose hair had grayed slightly, but whose smile remained as warm as ever. "You've come such a long way," her mom said, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "I'm so proud of the woman you've become." Maya smiled, gazing at the reflection of the sky on the surface of the water. "I couldn't have done it without you guys," she replied. "Or without the lessons I learned along the way." Nia nudged her playfully. "Lessons? More like battles. But hey, look at you now. You're unstoppable." They laughed together, the sound echoing off the walls of the empty pool area. For a moment, Maya closed her eyes, letting the memories wash over her. The fear, the humiliation, the triumphs, and the growth. Each one had shaped her into the person she was today. Opening her eyes, Maya took a deep breath. "Ready to jump in?" she asked, grinning mischievously. Her mom raised an eyebrow. "Oh no, not me. I'll leave the swimming to you two." Nia shrugged, already pulling off her shoes. "Last one in is a rotten egg," she shouted, racing toward the water. Maya followed close behind, laughing as they splashed into the cool embrace of the pool. As she floated on her back, staring up at the fading sunlight, she felt a profound sense of peace. Life wasn't perfect, and it never would be. But she'd learned to navigate its ups and downs with grace, courage, and love. And that, she realized, was the greatest victory of all.